The Bishop of Kerry has apologised for comments made by a priest concerning same-sex relationships, contraception and transgender rights. Bishop Ray Brown issued the apology following comments made by Father Seán Sheehy at Mass in Listowel over the weekend. This is some of what was said by Father Sheehy.
You rarely hear about sin, but it's rampant. It's rampant. And we see it, for example, in the legislation of our governments. We see it in the promotion of abortion. We see it, for in the example of this lunatic approach of transgenderism. We see it, for example, in the promotion of sex between two men or two women. That is sinful. That is mortal sin. And so therefore, as Christians, we need to stand up for God. And if we don't, then there's no hope for many people. So today, the Lord speaks to us very clearly. And He calls us to be His people and to benefit from His compassion, from His love, from His mercy. And so today, we thank the Lord for this. And those of you who happen to be leaving today, God help you. That's all I have to say to you. And God bless you who are here and who are worshipping God.
That's Father Seán Sheehy at Mass on Sunday, and he is referring to the people who are leaving. Now, the video of him speaking at that Mass has been doing the rounds a fair bit on social media, and the view that you have is of the altar and is of him speaking. What's not visible in that view is the people who are apparently leaving the church as he is speaking, and you can hear him referring to those people who are leaving and effectively telling them that they're opting for the damnation option by so doing. Del O'Sullivan was one of the parishioners who was at that Mass on Sunday, and she joins me now. Good afternoon, Del.
Good afternoon, Anton. How are you?
I'm very good. Can you give us a sort of a picture of what the reaction was like when he started into all of that?
I would think it was quite stunned. You know, in Listowel we have a very good community here, and I have never heard the likes of this before in Listowel. And I suppose when he started, really, it was about sin being rampant in our society. And I immediately thought, oh, we're in for trouble here. But anyway, he continued on, and he was preaching about the love and compassion of God, but then started to talk about our gay community and our transgender community. It took him about 10 minutes to get there, and I decided I had had enough. So I got up and I walked out. And then a few minutes after I went outside, men and women came out, but 3 women came out very upset. I asked one of them how she was. She said she wasn't from the parish, but she had come for an anniversary Mass, and she had no idea of what she had to face. The other 2 were much younger women, and they were upset because it was their father's anniversary, and they were leaving, and one of them was in tears. And I know for a fact that Father Declan, who is away on a pilgrimage, would not tolerate that kind of thing happening, because he would not want people leaving the church in that state of mind. I was very angry myself, the way he was speaking. I just felt we had left that all behind us in the 1960s. I'm touching 80 years of myself, and I have no time for any of that, and I wouldn't stand for it.
And why? So, what was it?
That's why I walked out.
What was it that angered you so much, Del?
Oh, it was his approach to gay people and transgender people. I imagine he knows very little about them. I think anybody who knows any gay people or transgender sees the love that is there in their relationships. And how dare he call it a mortal sin?
And I assume there must have been many who would be in the parish or in the congregation who either they themselves might be gay, or who might have gay or transgender friends or relatives.
Yes, I would have thought so. Yes, and he was teaching about, at least he was preaching about compassion and love of God. Yet he was showing little compassion at all to members of our society here in Listowel, which I think is very, very wrong.
And he is not the regular celebrant, as you say. He was replacing the parish priest who is currently out of the parish. Is that right?
That's right. He was on a pilgrimage. That's right. Yeah. He's a retired priest, I think, who spent most of his time in the United States.
And did you get any sense that he was seeing the reaction of the parishioners? Because it's quite it's one thing to walk out of something like a lecture. It's another thing to walk out in protest and Mass. So if people got to the point that they were doing that, I assume it was writ large on their faces that they didn't like what they were hearing long before they started leaving the pews.
I would imagine so, yeah. I was hoping he would, and that he would, there were children also in the congregation, who obviously, well, the tone of voice and everything was not good for young children. But, he mustn't have, but obviously what did he say about us? God helped them. And then God bless you all who stayed. But I thought he was going to pray for us, in which case I would have prayed for him too. But I will pray for him. I hope he will see the light of day someday. But look, who knows? I'm glad the bishop has come out. That was very important.
But you say yourself, having spent more than 70 years, I assume, within the Catholic Church and having attended many a mass over that period, to find yourself at a position where a priest effectively, because you were one of the ones who left, the message that he was giving you was you have chosen the wrong path by getting up and going, and effectively God forgive you for your choice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. That doesn't worry me at all, what he said. Absolutely not. But I have to smile at it in a way. But I think perhaps he's the person in the wrong there. One doesn't know. But no, I wouldn't have any time for what he'd said to me at all. But and absolutely, the people who left, I imagine I was one of the first to leave because I stood outside for quite a while. His sermon went on, I believe, for 25 minutes. And when I was satisfied it was over, I went back into the church. But I spoke to men and women outside, and I spoke to nobody disagreed with how I was feeling. But I think perhaps some people are shy of publicly criticising what goes on.
Did you have any sense as to where this came from? Because I assume somebody doesn't do an extemporaneous 20 minutes on the sinfulness of gay relationships unless they've been giving it some thought in advance. Was there any connection to current events? Could you see any logic for why?
No, nothing. No, I was completely stunned by it. Completely stunned.
Well, Del, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on this evening. That's Del O'Sullivan, who, as you heard, one of the first of the people to leave that mass, from which there was a significant exodus. We're joined as well by Cathal Foley, who's a Sinn Féin councillor in Kerry. The one bit in all of this, Cathal, that I don't quite understand is, as Del referred to, the Bishop of Kerry did make an apology. He said, "I'm aware of the deep upset and hurt caused by the contents of the homilies in question delivered over the weekend. I apologise to all who were offended. The views expressed do not represent the Christian position." Now, in the clip that we heard, my understanding is that is the Christian position. He said that those who facilitate or who support the procuring of abortion, that is a sin. He said that the act of sex between two men and two women, that is a sin. He said the promoting of promiscuity, that is a sin. He's right on all of those, isn't he?
He is, and I don't follow the teachings of the church closely, Anton, but that seems to be the position of the Catholic Church. What the priest said at the weekend was reprehensible, and I think Del articulated the views that she put across very well there, and that the vast majority of people here in Kerry, I presume in the whole country, would have the very same opinion. Obviously there are people out there with that type of opinion of the priest, but they don't come out and say it publicly from the pulpit. It's shocking to hear in 2022 that someone could come out and say this publicly. But I think what is also needs to be addressed is how he was in a position to even give this sermon in the first place. This priest, this isn't the first time he's been involved in controversy. He previously was involved in a controversy where he provided a character reference for a convicted rapist in Listowel. So how he was allowed in that position to give that sermon in the first place needs to be answered, and he should never again be on the altar. He lives in, like all of us, in a republic. We're all equal before the law. Same-sex marriage was voted by the overwhelming majority of the people in the state. It was passed, and the people of Listowel, I think nearly 75% of people in Listowel voted for same-sex marriage. So, I mean, he's preaching to people who voted to change the law a number of years ago, and well done to those people who walked out of the church.
Although, and the text just in says, to be fair to the Kerry priest, he's one of the very few priests preaching what the Bible preaches. If we don't like it, we don't have to attend. And to go back to that statement issued by Bishop Ray Brown, Ray Brown goes on to talk about the gospel being a gospel of love, and he quotes the Book of Wisdom. He quotes the Gospel of the Beatitudes, and in the Beatitudes he quotes that line about blessed are the gentle, they shall have the earth for their heritage. He says that we all effectively let us be called God's children, and he said, yes, you love all that exists and hold nothing of what you have made in abhorrence. he doesn't anywhere in the apology say relationships between gay people are fine, have at it.
No, he doesn't, and I would take issue with that, of course. And I mean, anyone referencing the Bible, I mean, like the Bible was put down over 2,000 years ago. If you want to go through the Bible, it's a long time since I've done it, but you can find some pretty weird passages where it'd be very hard for any priest or bishop to stand over much of what is in the Bible. It's very easy to pick out passages that they agree with, but there's lots of very, very weird and unsettling things in the Bible that I don't think they're going to be perusing over or preaching to the rest of us. But as I said, we live in a republic. We're all equal before the law, and people with these views aren't welcome in our state. And if he's not happy with our laws, well then look, he knows where to go. The vast majority of people, as I say, in Kerry are repulsed by his comments. It's absolutely astounding that in 2022 anyone could come out and say this publicly.
Cathal Foley, thank you very much. That is Cathal Foley, who is Sinn Féin councillor in Kerry. And before Cathal was Del O'Sullivan, who is one of the first people to have departed that Mass during the homily. And a lot of people writing in praise of Del, saying things like, fair play to that woman speaking. She knows a lot more about the compassion and the love of God than that priest.